Welcome to It's Upgrade Season, the only place to get raw and unfiltered advice on how to get your shit together 1 week at a time. I'm your host, Alexandria, and join me every Monday for The Upgrade and every Friday for The Wind Down, where I'm going to be answering your dilemmas. Small shifts, huge upgrades. Let's fucking do this. Welcome back to It's Upgrade Season, and we have another amazing guest today. This isn't just someone who has, in fact, do you know what? I'm going to check as I record this intro. I don't know how many millions of followers she is now on. I know that I went to her party when she was going to hit 1 million followers, and I'm pretty sure she actually threw the party before she actually hit the 1 million, which is just so legendary, I can't. But let's have a quick check. How many millions of followers is she on right now? She's on 2 million followers, guys, on Instagram. She has one of the top 2% of global podcasts. I am so excited that we have the Maggie Think Like a Boss on the pod today. She is an incredible Instagram expert, but that wasn't always her journey. For 10 years, she broke her soul in the corporate world before falling in love with the first-class champagne lifestyle of a travel blogger. Now she helps female entrepreneurs unleash their potential and skyrocket their sales through Instagram. She has, as I said, a 2% global podcast and is soon to be a Hay House author, which I am so buzzing about. I know she has poured her blood, sweat, and tears into this book, and that it's going to be so incredible when it's released to the world. So I'm so excited to have her on the podcast. Not only is Maggie such an expert, she is one of the funnest people I know. Maggie is one of those people where you go on a night out, you end up making all these random friends, you end up in the most unexpected but incredible situations. She truly is just like a walking manifestation of magic. I remember we were flying to Necker Island and she got us in this lounge, we were drinking champagne. It's just always an experience with Maggie. So I'm super, super excited for this episode and to get to share some of her wisdom and her stories with you. But I feel like I'm going to get motor mouth in this episode.
Me too.
Because I'm so fucking excited. I literally basically told you to stop talking a minute ago.
Yes, you did.
She kept literally dropping all these gems. We were talking about what we're going to talk about. She was dropping all these gems. And I could feel myself getting activated. And I was like, Maggie, save it. Save the magic. Stop. Too much magic. I'm going to start in a slightly strange place.
Okay.
But did I get this right? When you threw the party for reaching 1 million followers, you hadn't actually reached the 1 million followers yet. It was a pre-party because you knew you were about to hit it.
That's correct. Yes.
So fucking legendary.
I was like holding the vision, and I'm such a powerful manifester. So I was like, it's happening. It's done.
Yeah.
I'm not available for another reality. But then that also forced me to just really, really go for it.
I honestly, absolute fucking legend. But what I really want to talk to you about today is, I know you've poured your blood, sweat and tears into this in a really beautiful way, in a really powerful way, in a really like legacy making way.
Yeah.
And there is a book.
Yes.
Can you give us a title?
I can give you the title.
I don't want to reveal anything. I want all the magic to come from.
It's called Think Like a Boss. Stop playing small, start thinking big.
Even the title's just...
Yeah.
How has your life journey up until this point, life and business journey, really cultivated that energy of Think Like a Boss? Like, why does that feel like? Because this really is the legacy that you are creating now at this point.
Yeah.
What led this to being the thing?
I think just looking around in so many different situations and just seeing people constantly question and doubt themselves and think that they're not capable of going out and doing more things, or it's like living the grandest version possible for themselves. So many people settle. Like, you don't have to settle. Like, you can go out and achieve more and make more things happen. And I just want everyone to have that belief in themselves that it doesn't matter who you are, where you've come from, what your backstory is, you get to change at any moment. All it is, it starts with a choice, and then that choice then turns into action. And the second you start taking that action, like, you're only going to go one way, and that's forwards.
Every time you talk, I literally feel so reminded of that. Like, I feel like you're such a living, breathing embodiment of that. And can you just take us back just for a brief moment? I don't want to do too much like the backstory, but I remember you telling me about a moment when you'd been working in corporate.
Yeah.
And you had this moment of realization that really everything needed to change. Can you just take us back to that moment?
Yeah, gosh, do you know what? I had a red flag warning very early on. So I must have been 22, 23 at the time, was in my first year in banking, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'd asked my boss if I could go back to the hotel room because I was tired. And there was probably about 18 of us in the office still at 2 a.m. And he said no. And I went back to my desk and I was like, I have been here since 8 o'clock this morning. It's now 2 a.m. I've been here for 18 hours. I was like, I'm done. So I collected my belongings, went back to the hotel, left the office. Everyone behind me was like,
I'm not surprised. That's a ballsy move. Your boss, you're 22 years old, your boss has just said no, and you're like, I'm fucking leaving.
Yeah, and I did. I went back to my hotel, crashed and burned, and then was in the office again by 8:30 the next day.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd listened to myself in that moment, because at the time I was like, this is not normal. Against the law, it's illegal.
I was going to say, if this was any other story, they'd be like, this is literally like forced labour.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, you know, everyone around me was just like, this is the culture, this is just how it is, get on with it. If you want to work in this industry, you have to earn your grades, shall we say. And then almost the last defining moment came 10 years later, just over 10 years later, when I collapsed on a plane en route to Mexico City because I was burnt out. I was continuously crossing time zones. I was travelling at a moment's notice, working very long hours, immense amounts of stress. And when that happened and the air stewards brought me round, I was so mortified. And their reaction was, oh, don't worry, love. It happens to our business class passengers all the time.
Stop it. I didn't know that part.
Yeah. And those words, that was like the mic drop moment for me, because I was like, no, this does not get to be my new reality. And I sat on that floor, on the galley floor, thinking around me. And I was like, I'm going to resign when I get back to London. Like, I still had 3 weeks to go on this trip. I was like, no, I'm done. Can't do it anymore.
It's honestly wild, but I really want you to share that because I also think it's so relatable. And I think seeing the contrast of where you are now and where you were there is maybe that light bulb moment for people where they realise actually so much more is possible and there is a different vision they can have for their life, because the contrast is so jarring.
Yeah.
And also something I just want to say, knowing you, is you are such a hard worker. Like, you're capable of working hard.
Yes.
So it's not even that there was like, I think often this gets misconstrued these days. Oh, the snowflake generation don't want to work and all this shit. And it's no, you know how to fucking work, but that's very different. I can't believe 2 a.m. being told you need to stay at this desk.
Yeah.
Fucking wild.
I know. And I wish in that moment, like, I wish I'd reported that to HR because I know something would have been done.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like, that was the culture of the bank that I worked in. And my boss, he wasn't even all that senior, but he was more senior than me, and he was running the show, and you did what he said. And
But also at 22 years old, you're still, my God, like, they're 3 and still discovering like the world, but like you don't know either. You're early into the work environment, you don't know what's going on. So I love this journey that you've been on to now traveling because you choose to travel.
yes.
Now traveling for work that you absolutely love. I often see Maggie in LA.
Yes.
She doesn't technically live in LA, but in my head, Maggie is just LA.
Yeah. It's like my home away from home. Like, I feel so at home there. I love the sunshine and I love just being able to travel on my terms and not have to be on the 4 a.m. flight, which is what I used to do in corporate. And if I look back, even looking back, Al, at photos of me 7, 8 years ago, just before I left that world, I look 10 years older than I do now. I almost don't recognise myself, but that's what happens when you're in an environment when you're constantly stressed, you're burnt out, you're struggling with not only your physical well-being, but your emotional and mental well-being as well, and anxiety and all of those things. So I'm super grateful to myself for making that decision, because it wasn't done lightly and it was scary.
Yeah.
There were so many people around me during that period that were like, what are you doing? You've been in this career for 11 years. You've worked your way up. You're really senior. You've got an incredible salary. Are you having a midlife crisis?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Are you sure? Like, how do you even know that you can make a success of running your own business?
Yeah.
And other people's doubts. Like, it was so hard to almost block out that noise and maintain that, almost like that determination and that strength within me to be like, okay, you might doubt me, and I certainly have my doubts, but I get to do this because I know that I'm going to be so much happier for it, and I'm going to figure it out. I will find a way.
Yeah. I think it's also very confronting to people. I think there's two things there. I think one, we've often created a version of success that doesn't honour the happiness of the person. So we're very confused when someone wants to deconstruct that idea of success for their happiness.
Yeah.
And the second thing, I think it's really confronting for people, for you to step outside of the boxes that they're living within themselves as well.
Yeah.
And I think I just want to bring that up as a reminder to people as well, that sometimes that can be, yes, it's because they care about you and they're worried and things like that as well. But also sometimes you doing that is so confronting to them in terms of having to look at their own life and their own constructions of what success is and how they're living. That is a lot for them to take on as well. I need to get into the book. I'm so excited. I'm so excited because I feel like that gives such beautiful background to, like, you didn't just snap your fingers and you were this amazing magical Maggie with all the followers and this amazing business and this book coming out and the top 2% of podcasts and all these things.
Yeah.
You really came from that contrast and people doubting you. You've listened to the podcast and now it's time to upgrade your fucking life, babes, and join me in Tulum for the most transformative 5-day experience of your entire life. Set in a breathtaking beachfront villa in the biosphere of Tulum, this is the Upgrade Season Retreat experience. This all-inclusive retreat is designed to propel you towards your highest potential and support you to upgrade across multiple areas of your life. And we are going to be going fucking deep. Recalibrate your energy, activate your vision, experience powerful Mayan ceremonies, sound baths under the stars. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for those sound baths under the stars. And life-changing workshops with the most spectacular views. And on top of the life-changing workshops that I'll also be guiding you through, you'll be experiencing 5-star dining by the most incredible chefs. It's time for you to escape the chaos of the day-to-day and reconnect to the peace within you. If you're ready to upgrade your entire reality, babe, you need to be joining us on this life-changing experience. We truly haven't had a retreat review yet that hasn't said that these experiences are completely transformative and life-changing. So if you're ready for the next level of you and Tulum is calling you, DM me the word Tulum or head to the show notes where you can find more information. So where does the book begin?
The book begins with really just calling people out on the excuses that they're using that are keeping them at the level that they're at, or that are keeping them from playing small.
Yeah.
Because even if I ask us in the room right now, like, when was the last time you played small or you limited yourself? I guarantee it was absolutely this week.
Yeah. Oh my God. When you were giving examples earlier, there was one where you were saying about working out and you're like, oh, it's too cold and blah. And
Yeah.
I don't have that excuse anymore. But I did have the excuse where I was in the hotel room and I didn't have a yoga mat. And I was like, oh, I don't have a yoga mat.
There we go.
Could have got a towel. Could have just done it on the freaking floor. But little excuse, and I just didn't do my workout.
Yeah. And I think I get it. People are scared of that next level, especially if you're doing something new or you're trying to enforce change in some way. And it can be easy to just stay where we are because we're used to it. So because of that, your ego is always going to try and help you stay where you are because it's safe. So you'll say excuses such as, oh, it's not the right time, or I don't have the money right now, or it's too cold, or it's too late, or I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where to start. There's so many excuses that we use every single day to get out of doing things that are actually going to help us and that are going to help us get better and grow and develop and move closer to achieving the things that we want to do. I'm just really going to invite you to be mindful right now of, okay, what excuse or excuses have you been holding on to lately that are keeping you where you're at right now, that are keeping you in that safe, comfortable, cozy position that you're in?
Oh my gosh. You gave a stat as well when we were talking earlier, which blew my mind. Can you share it?
Yes, I can. So the average human being uses 6 excuses a day to get out of activities, whether it's working out, whether it's eating healthier, whether it's choosing not to go to a particular event or apply for a job promotion, or whatever it is. On average, we're using 6 excuses a day.
That blows my mind, and I can already count excuses that I've made today. This is why I was getting so fired up when you were talking about this. It feels like the salty slap in the face that we all need. But it is true. We're all doing it. We're all making excuses. And I always think about the compound effect with these things as well. So you're saying 6 excuses a day.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm thinking those 6 excuses building day by day. 365 days of the year, you're making 6. Do you know what? I'm going to get my calculator out. How many excuses is this year? 365, isn't it? Yeah. Over 2,190 excuses a year.
Yeah.
Think how much that is holding us back as a compound impact. It's huge.
I know. It's almost like an epidemic in itself.
Yeah.
Like the whole world are playing small.
Yeah.
Like even me right now, there's things
Give us
that
some
I
examples. What are some excuses you've been making?
Excuses that I've been making recently. Do you know what? Definitely working out. So I do some form of exercise every single day.
Which I think's amazing.
Which is so important just in terms of like your emotional and physical well-being. But I could be doing my workouts for longer. And I get to do them for longer. And I've definitely been using the book as an excuse. I've been so busy the last X many months writing the book, and on some days I've been in front of my laptop for 12 hours a day or longer. But I don't have that excuse anymore. Like I'm going to get so much more time back that I get to just pour back into me. And I'm excited to do that. And what I would say as well is try not to set yourself goals that are almost too big.
Yeah.
Because it can, if I'm on average doing a workout for 20 minutes a day, I'm not going to jump from 20 minutes to 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll jump from 20 to 30. And slowly I will increase it with time, and it becomes more of then compounds.
Yeah.
So try not to set goals that are too big, because otherwise you're less likely to stick to your new routine.
That's what I'm guilty of. I literally go from I'm not doing anything to I'm going to like train for a marathon. There's just no, and then they don't stick. So I think, this is, and I'm not going to lie, I've made so many excuses since having Leo. And they were legit in the beginning. Like they were, she says, defending. So funny. When I see other people defend their excuses, I can see it so clearly. And it's so funny how we do it so automatically ourselves. Like some of those excuses were legit, but now they're not legit. And now there is actually and it's really cultivating that again. This is why I was like, as soon as you were talking about this, it's like, okay, this is the wake up call I needed today. Yeah.
And everyone's doing it. Like it's important to just honour that and be compassionate towards yourself, because so much is going on in our everyday lives in general.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't get to do all the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
But please don't let that stop you from doing it the next day or doing it the day after that. Like the more consistent and the more you can get yourself into a routine, the easier it's going to become. And then before you know it, it's just going to be ingrained in who you are.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's something big to be said for that as well in terms of, I always think about it in terms of food. Like I used to have a fallen off the wagon, so all bets are off mentality.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing where actually if you haven't had a great meal, the next meal can still be a better meal. And, you know, you didn't exercise today, the next day can be a better work or a workout full stop instead of just sacking it off for the week.
Yeah.
So you've called us out on our shit. We've realised we're full of excuses and it's holding us back. We've seen the light, literally.
Yeah.
Where do we go from there?
The starting point really is get clear on what your desire is. What do you actually want? And forget about what society is saying that you should do or you should have or you should be. But actually get clear on what that gets to look like for you. What brings you joy, happiness, fulfillment? What gives you a calm nervous system? What makes you feel at peace? And once you're clear on what your desire is or desires are, you can then start to come up with a plan. But you can't come up with a plan until you're clear on what you actually want. And then from there, your plan starts with, okay, I know what I want now.
Yeah.
So let's break it down into smaller, manageable action steps.
Yeah.
That you can start to take and incorporate into your day-to-day that are going to help you get closer to what you want. And one of the subjects I talk about in the book is the red car theory. Okay, so if I said to you, right, Al, have you seen any red cars today?
I literally couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I was trying to avoid conversation with my Uber driver this morning and I cannot recall any car I saw.
Okay, if I said to you, I'm going to give you $100 for every red car that you see today, and I were to ask you the question at the end of the day, would you know how many red cars you'd seen?
Oh, 1,000%.
Why?
Oh, because there'd be motivation there. There'd be, and also just my focus would be switched in that direction.
Exactly. So I talk about this in the book that once you actually have that want and that desire and you're clear on what it is, you'll suddenly start to notice opportunities present themselves. So let's say that you are looking for a new career path or you want to start up a new business. The second you put that intention out into the world, doorways and pathways will start to present themselves. You'll suddenly start to notice, or ads will drop into your social media feed, or you'll hear conversations, or you'll see signs when you're walking down the street. And that will be the nudge that there is another option, there is another pathway. And that's actually always been there, but you're only starting to notice it now because you're looking for it.
I love that. I think there's something so reassuring in that. And that's something I always feel when I talk to you as well, is you always remind me, it's almost like a feeling that I get just from being around you, like to trust and that there's so much unfolding and possibilities we're not even aware of yet.
Yeah.
But I really want to ask you, how, if someone's listening to this and they're like, that sounds great, but I've forgotten to know what I want, or I don't know what I want. Or I've experienced this myself where you're so trained in what you think you should want or what you used to want that it's hard to almost break. How do you break that? How do you start to tap back in?
I'd actually, number one, silence. Okay, so silence, gosh, can tell you so much.
Yeah.
Silence has so much to say. So actually having some alone time, take yourself out in nature and focus on the feeling rather than the actual tangible product or the tangible thing that you want. Think about the feelings. What would you love to feel every single day? And that's going to be, those emotions are going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, there's some people who are thrill seekers out there who constantly want their adrenaline rushing, whereas other people just want to feel at peace or calm. And once you're clear on what feelings you want to feel, again, it's like you're opening up the pathways to start connecting with things that are going to help you feel that way. So if you want more peace and calm, for instance, you might be someone who currently lives in a hustling, bustling city. And actually what you're really craving is to be out in the country or to move overseas to somewhere more remote or tropical. And it could be as well that you currently have a job or you're in a business that is really demanding and actually you don't want to be front facing or client facing.
Yeah.
Maybe you actually want to take a step back and be behind the scenes. So when you start focusing on how you want to feel, it will become clearer to you actually what you want your life to look like.
Yeah.
And then almost like those downloads will start to drop in for you. And before you know it, you're starting to create a map or a vision board of actually what it is you want your life to look like.
I love that. And something that really sparked into me listening to you was actually the excuse of how it all starts to weave in. The excuses can come back in because then it's, I want this, but then we make excuses. Because when you were talking about, I love that example of maybe you actually want to live somewhere a bit calmer and shift your environment. The amount of times I've spoken to people and they're like, oh my God, you live in America or you've left, whatever it may be. And they think it's something that's for other people, not them.
Yeah.
And there's just that gap of, no, if you want that, that's a desire for you. That's possible for you.
Absolutely.
It's not letting the excuses come back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say at the moment I know there's lots of entrepreneurs who listen to this podcast, but there might also be career women as well.
Yeah.
Let's say you are currently living in, the UK in a city like London, but you actually desire to move to America. Have you actually explored what the options are to move abroad or go overseas with your current employer for a period of time?
Yes.
Another one of my mantras is if you don't ask, you don't get. So you have to ask the question. And the worst thing they can say is no, in which case you're exactly where you were to begin with, but at least you've explored that pathway. And then you can start to look at what other options might be available to you. And it could be that you look for employment elsewhere. It could be that you openly declare that you're looking for a role overseas. Does anyone know of anyone who could maybe support you and help making that happen?
Yeah. I love that. I love as well that you found like a simple, I think sometimes we make the excuse because we make it this big thing. And even I didn't think of that. It could be simple. It could actually be the case of, can I go for and that period of time might be shorter, but you can discover, do you like it? Do you actually want to do this? So many things can open up from that space.
Yeah.
Definitely. I love this. So we've got rid of our excuses. You've called us out on our shit.
Yes.
We've got clear on what we actually really, I sound like the Spice Girls, what you really want. What's next? What's next on our journey to think like a boss?
Next on the journey is getting yourself into a routine that is really going to support and facilitate the things that you want. Okay, so let's take your well-being. Like earlier I used the example of wanting to move more and exercise more. Well, what's going to support you? It's probably going to be to remove the snacks from your cupboards and replace them with things that are just healthier for you, that are going to give you more energy. There's so many different actions that once you actually start to think about it and you start taking almost like embodying actions and getting into good habits that are going to support you to get to where you want to be, that's then it's going to almost cause a ripple effect. So getting yourself into a routine is so important. And the easiest way to do that is to try and habit stack on top of habits that you're already doing that are supportive to you. So let's say you meditate in the morning or you go for a workout in the morning. You come back home, head to the kitchen and eat an apple. Have something that's actually going to fuel you with the right energy. Or if you're meditating in the morning and then you're like, okay, I really want to just give myself the space to just get clear on the things that I want. It's like, okay, then after you meditate, why not then incorporate a few minutes into your day where you sit down with a journal and you just allow whatever is coming up for you, you just allow that release so that you can start your day feeling much more at peace, much more at calm, not having social media to hand, like your phone not being the first thing that you reach for in the morning, because that really clouds people's memories as well.
Yeah.
And that is not a good habit to get into.
Oh my God, it's just like a jolt of adrenaline from the get-go and response straight away.
Yeah, and it just floods your mind with overwhelm from the beginning, and you start your day the wrong way as well.
Yeah.
Because you're actually forcing your brain to skip from resting brain waves to suddenly being fully alert in a super short, I talk about this in the book. you're skipping vital waves the second you pick up your phone. And the majority, the majority of people pick up their phone within 5 to 10 minutes of waking up.
Oh my
which
gosh.
is not a good habit to get into. And really what you want to be doing is spending the first 1 to 2 hours of your day just being with yourself. Whether it's even walking to your local coffee shop without your phone, or just having your phone on flight safe mode and just being out in nature, or meditating or journaling or getting a workout in, or playing with your kids, like just having that time where you're not clouded by news or notifications or anything, like just getting yourself into the best possible routine that you can get yourself into, that's going to support your physical well-being, your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being. So getting into that routine is so important. And then I would say is really remembering your worth and really embodying what it means to truly love yourself, because love is an inside job.
I'm really curious as well about like how you define self-worth and how you define self-love. What's the think like a boss take on both those concepts?
Okay, so the think like a boss take for self-worth is it's how you see yourself, not how other people see you. So if you believe that you're worthy of the job promotion, you'll put yourself in the running for it. But if you don't believe that you are, then you'll be using excuses as to why you can't throw your name in the ring.
So true. And I'm really curious about this from an Instagram perspective as well, because I think I actually looked up your Instagram as I was doing the intro, because I was like, how many million is she on now? And 2 million followers.
Yes.
I think Instagram is a place where a lot of people are deriving self-worth.
Oh, God, yeah.
I know that I derived self-worth when I was running my business from my business, my client results. And as part of that, Instagram was part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious, as someone who is actually incredibly successful on a platform.
Yeah.
How have you created a healthy relationship where you're not deriving your self-worth from literally millions of followers and actually having that innate sense whilst also creating this incredible external reality?
So I've always made it about my mission, okay, not about me. I'm not on Instagram for me. I'm on there to share a message to my people.
Yeah.
And that main message is you get to do, be, and have whatever you desire. Like, I just want people to believe that they can. So my sole purpose of showing up on my platforms is to just deliver that message.
Yeah.
Like, what is the one message they need to hear today? It's not about me. It's not about how many likes or comments or anything like that. It's literally about helping that person. And that is how I've always approached. Like, the second I approached the platform in that way, because I wasn't like that 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's really been in the last 3, 4 years that I've focused on that message. And the second I made that shift, and I was like, no, it's just that message. What do my people need to hear? I let go of all forms of almost like validation. As long as I'm happy with the message that I'm sharing, that's all that matters. Because someone somewhere needs to hear it.
Yeah.
Whether that's one person, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 10 people, whether it's 500,000 people. The right people will see that message. And my only job, and that's a reminder for everyone right now, is your only job on this planet is to be you. The second you show up as the truest version of yourself, you are in full alignment. And when you are in alignment, everything will just flow and you'll channel it. And I'm also very disciplined, right? So I'm disciplined, but I'm also intentional. So whenever I open that app, it's to share a message. It's to either share a message, whether it's on stories, whether it's on the feed, or whether it's to check DMs. Those are the 3 reasons I go on the app.
Yeah.
But I limit myself to not being on there for more than 20 minutes.
Love that. I feel like people would be surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
Like someone with so many followers and so much success on there is actually limiting their...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, Al, is if I've got the time to do 20 minutes that day.
Yeah.
So last week, there was 4 days I didn't log on at all because I didn't have the bandwidth.
And hang on, you said log on. Do you like log out?
As in, so all my
so just, like, going on.
notifications are turned off. So let's say yesterday I might have had something like 50,000 likes in total across all the pieces of content I've got out there and hundreds of DMs. Like, I don't receive any notifications. So I don't know what's happening unless I log in.
Yeah.
And that helps to keep my nervous system at peace because if I had my notifications turned on, so many people do, it would be going off every second of every minute of every hour of every day. My phone would constantly be vibrating.
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth to have a phone that's just going completely nuts.
I don't even have the bandwidth to have my WhatsApp notifications on.
Exactly. And what you don't know is not going to impact your energy.
Yeah.
So I'm like particular and strict in terms of like my energy and who gets to have my energy. And I show up as and when I find the time in the day too. And as I said, it's not even every day. So just really trying to maintain a healthy relationship, not scrolling aimlessly. Like you should have a purpose when you log onto social media.
Yeah.
And it should be to educate, motivate or inspire or empower. And if it's not one of those things, if you're on there and you're scrolling and you're not learning or taking notes or you're not feeling inspired or motivated or educated, then what are you doing on the platform? It's a waste of time.
This is such an interesting conversation. I actually want to bring this to you.
Yeah.
It's great that we're friends as well because I can bring this to the pod. I am going through a period where I'm feeling really weird with Instagram.
Okay.
And I think what I feel weird about is, and it's funny, our mutual friend Helena shared this as well recently, and she really spoke into my feelings, is I feel like I've changed so much in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Just so much has happened and just so many shifts. And I'm still honestly navigating those shifts a lot. I'm still in that place.
Yeah.
And something I realized recently is I go on my Instagram and it feels like a reminder of who I was, not who I am or who I'm becoming.
Okay.
And so something I've decided to do is I'm actually going to unfollow pretty much everything on there and start from scratch and be like, what actually do I want to follow from this present moment, this present version of me?
Yeah.
And it's been such a journey of I don't want to offend people, don't want to upset people. Like just so much has come up for me. And also grief, like grieving who I was.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I agree with you. Instagram used to be a place where I'd go and I'd feel really inspired and expanded or seen or met or heard or it was an enjoyable experience for me. And I haven't felt that in a while.
Okay.
It can actually make me quite anxious or confused. It feels like my head's full.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm just interested in your take. What do you think about detoxing who you're following on Instagram?
Oh, I'm all for it. I don't follow many people at all. And I think you've already had the signs there. You're logging on, you're not feeling inspired, you're going through your next level transformation. And if you think about who we were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, we're constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So of course, we're also going to change. Our interests, our desires are going to change as well. And one of the rules I live my life by, which is from a book called The Four Agreements, one of my favourite books.
Love that book.
Is don't take things personally. Okay? And if someone takes you unfollowing them personally, then that's their area of growth that they need to work on. That's not for you to work on. That's their problem.
Yeah.
And that's just a sign for them to do work on themselves.
Totally.
So you get to follow whoever you want to follow. Equally, I know people who follow 0 people.
Yeah.
And it means that their feed isn't constantly getting clouded with content or they're not getting lost in the scroll. And then they just start searching as and when they feel called to search for a particular thing or subject. They'll just type it into the explore page and they'll see content that way.
But I think it comes back as well to what you were saying as well about that constant pinging. And it is a lot of noise, particularly if you're in I'm in many ways going back to that want stage. Like, what do I want in this stage of my life? Like, too much. And you said about silence.
Yeah.
Too much noise. It does feel, it's a lot on our systems.
It is. And honestly, the only pings you want to be hearing are PayPal or Stripe notifications.
Oh my God, that is such a legendary quote. I adore that.
If it's not a PayPal or a Stripe notification, I don't want to hear a ping.
I love that. Oh my God, I'm going to carry that with me. This is such magic, Maggie magic. Okay, so we have gone through excuses.
Yeah.
What we want and having being intentional with that. Self-worth and self-love.
Yeah.
Talk to me next about the power of the mind. I just cheated. I looked at my notes.
Oh, that's okay. Do you know, we're in our mind 24/7, even when we're fast asleep. We're in our subconscious constantly. I talk a lot about the importance of protecting your mind for that reason, because we're in it consciously, continuously, whether we're consciously in it now and having this conversation, or whether we're going off into a dream state or meditating. We're in it constantly, and it's so important. So many people struggle with illnesses, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether it's sleep related as well because of sensory overload. There's just so much that's going on for us that we have to take whatever actions we can to protect our minds so that we are showing up as the most empowered and strongest version of ourselves. And protecting it can come in so many different forms. Number one, having boundaries. So many people don't have boundaries in place, or they have very loose boundaries. Like, I really limit and restrict who has access to me now. And that includes whether it's social media, whether it's like my phone number. Very few people have it now. It's so important.
I hate giving people my phone number.
Yeah, I don't. I always direct them to Instagram. And do you know what? It's the best tip I can give, because people get intimidated.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'm just a normal person.
Yeah.
So irrespective of whether I've got 2 followers or 2 million, I'm just a normal human being, just like everyone else. But that's my test. It's like, we'll direct people to my social media. If you want to message me, you do it on there.
I love that, because I feel like someone having my number is a very intimate thing to have.
It is.
And
absolutely.
also my phone overwhelms me very easily in terms of messages.
Yeah.
So the idea of more people having my phone number is not something I want to like engage with. I love that. I really love. And have you always been good with boundaries? Because you mentioned the situation with your boss.
Yeah.
I think that's ballsy for a 22-year-old.
Yeah, it was.
Have you always been good, or have you had to cultivate it more?
It's definitely grown. Obviously, the older you get, the more in your power you feel as well. And the more I'm at the point in my life now where I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
As long as I'm staying true to me and my values, then that's all. And I'm a good person and all the things, but I don't care what other people think, and I want peace at the end of the day. So it's definitely come with experience, and it's also come from those learnings where people have had too much access to me and I've not enforced those boundaries. And as a result, I've ended up feeling stressed or tired or burnt out or resentful.
Yeah.
So learning to say no is another way to protect yourself. Is don't just say yes to things because you feel like you need to do it because you're a people pleaser. And so many people pleasers, especially high achievers, they don't want to let people down. So they say yes to the thing, and then they get home later and they feel tired, they feel exhausted, they feel burnt out and all the things. So saying no, having boundaries, also having a schedule. So if you're a business owner and someone sends through an inquiry, don't be reactive, be proactive. So you don't need to respond straight away. Have your timescales, whether it's you'll receive a response within 48 business hours, or whether it's you'll get a response within a week. Like, it's not a case of you snap your fingers, someone says jump and you say how high. It's no. You get to decide what your day-to-day is going to look like, how it's going to support you and your nervous system, and then you implement whatever boundaries you need to protect your well-being.
I love that because it really speaks to sustainability as well.
Definitely.
In terms of like, I know in my own business early on, like someone would be like, can't do that time. Can you do a 7 p.m. call? I'll be like, yeah, sure. And like very response mode. And, it was unsustainable. You know, like if I'm doing 7 p.m. calls and then I've got another call the next day at 7 a.m. or whatever it may be, like you just can't. We spoke about burnout early on here. And I think a lot of people actually create burnout cycles then in their own business, having escaped it from somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And other things as well that you can do is, I talk about news, not consuming, just being mindful of the news that you're consuming. I hardly consume any news. I have no idea what's going on in the world half the time.
But do people not share it on your Instagram?
No.
See, that's where you curate who you follow.
Yeah. Number one, I don't follow many people.
Yeah.
And number two, there's actually a stat I share in the book about, there's a term called doom scrolling, which is in relation to negative news. Let's say a negative headline pops up. You're then more likely to be searching for more negative headlines. You're going to be more drawn to negative headlines. And there's different studies that have been done with research groups where one research group was given negative headlines, another one was given a variation of the headline, but where it was more positive, and then you've got like the control group. And the people who were receiving the negative news, they were then more likely to continue searching for more negative news, but it also made them dwell more on what was going wrong in their lives. They were then focusing more on what was going wrong in their lives rather than what was going right. And they were more likely to struggle with anxiety and depression. So news is just such an important factor. And just remember that people are going to share what they want to share. All different outlets have their own agenda.
Yeah.
And we don't know half the story. We don't know most of the story. So just being conscious of, being mindful of what the information you're allowing yourself to take in. And again, like social media again is another one, is just really being intentional with your use of it and minimizing it, because at the moment, on average, we spend 2 hours and I think it's 23 minutes a day minimum on social media.
Oh my God. I feel like this links back to your excuses as well then, because the amount of us that are saying, I don't have time. And actually we're going on social media, we're doom scrolling, we're draining our energy in so many ways.
Absolutely. And it's scary. And even with the newer generations, teenage girls between 13 and 17 on average are on for, I think it's 5 hours and 43 minutes a day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like shocking. Some of the research that I share is shocking.
Yeah.
And my invitation to you is, at the moment, you might be listening to this and thinking, oh no, I'm only on social media half an hour a day or an hour a day. Number one, you're going to be on it way more than you even realise.
Yeah.
And number two, what if you actually cut that in half? So what if instead you invested an hour of your day every single day into your growth in some way?
Yeah.
Whether it's learning a new skill, whether it's taking up a hobby, whether it's starting a business venture, whether it's learning a language, whether it's going for a workout. Imagine if you dedicated an hour of that time a day into yourself, where you would be 365 days from today.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that wake-up call, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I do sometimes think we need, I call them salty slaps in the face, but like I do, because it's, you know, when you get a wave and it hits you in the face and you're like, oh, God.
Do you know what I call it?
What?
When you've been slapped, when it feels like you've been slapped by a wet fish.
Oh my God, very accurate as well. That, like, I can hear the noise of that. I feel like I can hear the, but I think we need them because I think it does wake us up out of the patterns that we're in. And like, this is what I'm feeling during this conversation. It's waking me up from so many patterns that you slip into. And it's funny when you said about the time on social media, I was like, God, I bet actually, because I feel like I don't spend much time on there. But I bet if I actually added up those like small scrolls and those like little bits, and I have had a moment. I had a moment recently where I had about 40 minutes to myself, which is golden.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Literally golden. And I love reading. And I was like, I really want to read a book. I'm just going to sit and read my book. but I'll just do something quickly on my phone. And I was really pissed at myself because then 25, 30 minutes had gone by. And I thought I could have read for that, and I hadn't. And then I got a couple of pages of my book in, and it was such a reminder of actually that it slips in and then it escalates, and then it's chipping away bit by bit. So I'm loving these fish slaps to the face where I'm like remembering, and that cumulative effect. Okay, so we've gone through this process of getting clear on our excuses.
Yeah.
And they've shown up time and time again.
Yeah.
Getting clear on what we want, really moving in an intentional way, really starting to stack some of those habits, the kind of final few steps so we can be thinking like a boss.
Is what I call the manifesto. So it's almost like a way of living your life. Okay. So there's lots of different principles I talk about, such as if you don't ask, you don't get.
Love.
Dress how you want to be addressed.
Ooh. Okay. Talk to me about that one.
Okay, so let's say you are going to an event, right? Think about how you want people to perceive you at that event. It could be that you are going because you have to show up, but you don't really want anyone to speak to you. You don't really want to be noticed, in which case, okay, go to the event, have a baseball cap on, maybe dress all in black so you blend into the background.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going into an event and you're like, do you know what? I really want to network. I want to be noticed. I want to show up as an authority figure. I want people to take me seriously. I want to make connections. Then you're going to wear something that's going to help you stand out. And you're going to embody the person that you're really trying to portray.
Yeah.
So people will literally, if you go into a sports bar and you're dressed in sports clothes, then you're probably going to attract more sporty people. If you go into a 5-star luxury hotel and you're dressed to the nines, then you're probably going to attract people who also have similar interests, who have nice things and appreciate good taste and fashion. Dress for whatever occasion you're going to. And there's no right or wrong answer here. Whenever I'm about to board a plane, I love nothing more than I always wear black when I'm travelling. I always wear comfy sweats and a big hoodie because I also just don't want people, to chat to me.
Yeah. You're like,
I just want to
please
get
leave
on
me
the
alone.
plane, go into my cocoon, work or sleep or do my thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm going to an event, like for the most part, I do love chatting to people. So I'm going to wear something that's bright and that's going to stand out a bit more because it's also a great conversation starter. So there's so many principles that we get to live our life by, such as, well, you only win or you learn, you never ever lose. So even when you feel like you're, and I'm going to use the term loosely, failing, you're not, you're learning. Or you might not feel like you're winning, but in the long term, you actually are winning because that's going to help you get to where you want much quicker because you're learning lessons sooner. But just see every single experience that happens in your life, whether it's positive or whether it feels negative in the moment, there's actually a beautiful lesson from that. So always remember that. Be okay with being underestimated as well. Like, people will underestimate you. I feel like I've been underestimated my entire life, but what I do, I'm doing for me, and what you do, you should be doing for you and for your mission and your message. And don't worry about what other people think. They don't know you.
Can I just say, you'd be very silly to underestimate Maggie. That's not a mistake you want to be making.
But it's funny because people quite often, I don't really show my face that often with the brand. A lot of people think that the brand is run by a man, by a guy. And people are always shocked to find that it's actually a woman.
Wow.
And as well, because I am very, very high energy, like very chatty, I have quite a youthful spirit. So people are often quite shocked to hear that I had a whole other career before becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
People can't believe that I was in private banking for 11 years because I don't necessarily look a lot younger than I am.
Yeah.
So it's always funny having those conversations and just be okay with it. Like, I laugh it off, and I think ultimately, other people's opinion of me is not going to dictate or determine whether I do or don't do something.
Yeah.
If I want to do it, I'll do it. And that's the kind of mindset that you have to have when you think like a boss.
Oh my God, I'm so fully obsessed. I literally can't wait. I feel like this is going to have to be like my morning routine, is like taking in a few pages. I feel like I want to eke it out and really enjoy it, because I feel like it's going to be just so motivating, so inspiring, and just I do just feel like you're such a reminder of like how magic the world is, and what you said, that we can be, do, and have anything we desire.
Yeah.
And I really feel like you live and breathe that in the small ways and in the big ways. And it's really incredible.
Thanks.
So where can we get it? Tell me about pre-order.
Oh, pre-order, available pretty much everywhere. Amazon, whether, obviously I know different people are going to be based in different countries, but if you're in the US, then it's going to be on Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, UK, Waterstones, Foyles, Blackwell. It's been stocked pretty much everywhere.
How does that feel, by the way, babe?
It feels like, I don't know, it just feels really, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
I think I can't quite believe it yet, because I don't yet have a physical copy of the book in my hands. So it's gone to print. I've not received my copy yet. I think once I do, then it's going to feel real. And I just can't wait to see it in bookstores and be able to sign.
I was literally going to say that. I think we must be linking up. I'll be like, will you sign my copy when I get mine?
Of course. I feel like I actually need to practice. I'm actually nervous about the whole signature thing. I don't want to ruin people's books because I've scribbled too big and it's gone off the page.
I thought you need to make it shorter as well, because if you're going to be doing a lot of those, you can't be...
I know.
You can't be going to town. It's got to be quick. Quick.
I need to think of the because I want to put like empowering messages in there as well. But so I'm still trying to figure that one out. But I'm really excited. It's gonna change lives. It really is. And yeah, as I said before, I just want you to believe that you can, because you quite literally, like, the only limit that exists is the one in your mind. But when you think like a boss, you start winning big and living big.
Such powerful words to end on. I love you. Thank you for this conversation.
I love you too. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to share it with a friend. I love sharing podcast recommendations with my friend. Sending podcasts truly is a love language. Do that to one of your friends today. Make sure to share this episode. I'm sending you so much love, so much joy, and so much abundance. I'll see you next time.